The text message glowed on his iPad screen like a radioactive wound. Miss you already, baby. Can't wait for our new life to begin. I stared at those words from Piper, time-stamped 3:47 a.m., until they burned into my retinas. My husband of 8 years had forgotten to log out of his messages again. Careless, just like he'd gotten careless about hiding so many things lately. I'm Zoe, and until 20 minutes ago, I thought I was living someone else's perfect life. Interior designer with a thriving business, married to a successful investment banker, proud owner of a stunning Mediterranean villa overlooking the coast. Now I was just another statistic, another wife discovering her husband's affair through a carelessly unlocked device. Honey, Asher's voice floated up from downstairs. Have you seen my iPad? I took a deep breath, my fingers hovering over the screen. Just a second, I called back, my voice steady despite the trembling in my hands. Quick screenshots, sent to my phone. Evidence, always keep evidence. Found it. I walked downstairs, tablet in hand. The perfect picture of a helpful wife. Asher stood in our kitchen, adjusting his tie in the reflection of our French doors. He looked exactly the same as he had this morning. Tall, handsome, entitled. How had I never noticed that last part before? You're a lifesaver, he said, taking the iPad. Big presentation today, can't mess this one up. I forced a smile. The Anderson account? Yeah, could be worth millions. He kissed my cheek, already distracted. Don't wait up tonight, dinner with clients. Of course, I watched him leave, wondering if Piper would be at this client dinner too. The front door clicked shut, and I collapsed onto our imported Italian leather sofa, the one I'd specially ordered last year because Asher insisted on having the best. My phone rang. Nicole's name flashed on the screen. You okay? She asked without preamble. You sent those screenshots 20 minutes ago and then went dark. I'm fine. I wasn't fine. Just processing. Want me to come over? No, I need to think. I stood up, pacing our massive living room. Something else is wrong, Nicole. The bank called yesterday about some paperwork for the villa. Asher told me it was just routine refinancing. But, the woman mentioned something about a sale agreement. When I asked for details, she clammed up and said she'd only discuss it with the primary account holder. Which is Asher, Nicole said slowly. Right. I stopped at our floor-to-ceiling windows, staring out at the view I'd fallen in love with when we first bought this place. What if he's not just cheating? What if he's planning something bigger? Zoe, listen to me carefully. Nicole's lawyer voice kicked in. Don't confront him yet. Don't let on that you know anything. We need to. The doorbell interrupted us. Through the security camera feed on my phone, I saw Sophia, our housekeeper, waiting outside. I have to go. Sophia's here. Call me later, Nicole insisted. Promise me you won't do anything rash. I ended the call and opened the door. Sophia stood there, clutching her purse with unusual tension. Mrs. Zoe, she said, glancing behind her nervously. I need to tell you something. Last week, I saw Mr. Asher and his mother here when you were at that design conference. They had a man with them, very official looking, with briefcases. They spent hours in the study. My stomach clenched. Did you hear anything? Sophia nodded slowly. Just pieces, but Mrs. Susan, she said something about making sure you get nothing. And the man, he mentioned offshore accounts. The pieces started falling into place. The bank call, the mystery meetings, Piper's text about their new life. Thank you, Sophia. I squeezed her hand. Please, don't mention this to anyone else. After she left, I stood in our cavernous entryway, surrounded by all the beautiful things I'd carefully chosen for our home. My phone buzzed. Another bank notification. This time, it was about a large transfer from our joint account to an unknown recipient. I picked up my phone again, dialing Nicole's number. Hey, I said when she answered. Remember how you said not to do anything rash? I think we need a new plan, a better plan. I paused, watching a photo of Asher and me on our wedding day mock me from the wall. They want to leave me with nothing. Let's see about that. 3 separate meetings with Coastal Property Solutions in the past month, Nicole said, spreading documents across my kitchen island. And look at this, Susan's signature as a witness on documents you supposedly signed. I picked up the paper, studying the forged signature. She didn't even try to make it look authentic. They're getting sloppy. Nicole pulled out her laptop, probably because they think you're too trusting to check. The afternoon sun streamed through the kitchen windows, highlighting dust motes in the air. It had been 3 days since discovering Piper's messages, and each hour brought new revelations of betrayal. My phone buzzed. Asher's face appeared on the screen. "Answer it," Nicole whispered. "Remember, you know nothing." I took a deep breath and picked up. "Hey, honey. Mom's organizing a family dinner this Saturday," Asher said, his voice suspiciously cheerful. "She insists you come." "This Saturday." I caught Nicole's eye. "That's rather sudden." "Just a casual thing. Family announcements. You know how she gets." "Family announcements, right." My fingers tightened around the phone. Of course, wouldn't miss it. After hanging up, I turned to Nicole. "They're planning something." "Obviously," she typed rapidly on her laptop. "But we've got something too. Remember that trust document you signed last year? The one you insisted I create?" "Yes, but—" The doorbell interrupted us. Nicole quickly gathered the papers, while I checked the security feed. Susan stood at the door, perfectly coiffed and radiating false warmth. "Surprise visit from the monster-in-law," I muttered, heading to answer it. "Zoe, darling." Susan air-kissed my cheeks. "I was in the neighborhood and thought I'd drop by to personally invite you to Saturday's dinner." Her eyes darted past me, spotting Nicole. "Oh, I didn't realize you had company." "Just going over some design contracts," I lied smoothly. "Would you like some tea?" "No, no." Susan wandered into the living room, running her finger along a shelf. "I wanted to make sure you're coming Saturday. It's important to Asher." I wouldn't miss it. I watched her inspect my home, like she was conducting an inventory. "Is there something special we're celebrating?" Susan's smile didn't reach her eyes. "Let's just say changes are coming. Good changes." She paused at a photo of Asher and me. "You know, dear, sometimes we must accept that things don't work out as planned." The threat was barely veiled. I maintained my pleasant expression. "How philosophical of you, Susan." After she left, Nicole emerged from the kitchen. "That woman is a snake." "A snake who just confirmed they're planning something for Saturday." I sank onto the sofa. "What were you saying about the trust?" Nicole pulled out her phone, showing me an email. "Remember Sophia? She found something interesting in Asher's study last week. A copy of the trust agreement, with his signature on it. But he never—" I stopped, memory clicking into place. "Wait. Last year, when he was rushing to catch his flight, I asked him to sign some papers for the villa's maintenance. And he signed without reading." Nicole finished, grinning. "The trust that protects your ownership of the villa. The one that requires both signatures for any sale." Hope flickered. "So even if they try to sell, they can't, not legally." Nicole's expression turned serious. "But Zoe, they're obviously planning to announce something at this dinner. Something big." My phone chimed with a text. It was from Pearl, my sister. "Asher called. Said you're going through some stuff. Should I be worried?" "Interesting," I murmured, showing Nicole the message. "He's reaching out to my sister now." "Building allies," Nicole said. "Classic move before dropping a bomb." I stood up, walking to the windows. Below, gardeners tended to the villa's immaculate grounds. Grounds that Asher and his mother thought they could steal from under me. "Nicole," I said slowly, "what if we let them drop their bomb?" "What do you mean?" "Saturday's dinner, they want to make some grand announcement?" I turned, feeling a cold clarity settle over me. Let them think they've won, and then we drop our own bomb," Nicole finished, understanding dawning on her face. "The trust agreement, the proof of their fraud attempts, everything." "Exactly." I picked up my phone, texting Pearl back. "Everything's fine. See you Saturday at Susan's." "You're sure about this?" Nicole asked. "Once we do this, there's no going back." I thought about Piper's message. about Susan's smug smile, about Asher's casual betrayal of everything we'd built. They chose this path, I said, watching my message to Pearl show as delivered. Now they can deal with the consequences. Sophia's hands trembled as she handed me a thick manila envelope. I found this hidden behind the wine cellar shelves. Mrs. Zoe, Mr. Asher was down there last night, moving things around. I opened the envelope carefully. Inside were bank statements, property valuations, and, my heart stopped, photos, dozens of them. Asher and Piper at expensive restaurants, on beaches, even one of them kissing outside what looked like a real estate office. When did you find these? This morning, while cleaning. Sophia wrung her hands. There's something else. I overheard Mr. Asher on the phone yesterday. He said everything would be taken care of by Saturday night. The doorbell rang, making us both jump. Through the security feed, I saw Pearl standing outside, shifting nervously from foot to foot. Thank you, Sophia, I said, tucking the envelope into my desk drawer. Please don't mention this to anyone. Pearl barely waited for me to open the door before bursting in. Okay, what's really going on? Asher called me twice yesterday, talking about how worried he is about you, how you've been unstable lately. Did he now? I kept my voice neutral, leading her to the kitchen. And you believed him? I don't know what to believe. Pearl accepted the coffee I offered. We barely talk anymore, Zoe. Then suddenly your husband's calling me with concerns, and Susan's inviting me to some urgent family dinner. Interesting that you're taking their side without even asking me first. Pearl flinched. I'm not taking sides, she sighed. Look, after Mom died, when I was such a mess and you were always trying to fix everything, maybe I resented you a bit. But I'm here now, asking, what's happening? I studied my sister's face, seeing genuine concern beneath the defensiveness. Come with me. In my home office, I pulled out the envelope Sophia had brought. Take a look. Pearl's eyes widened as she went through the contents. Holy shit, she whispered. How long have you known? About the affair? A week. About their plans to sell my house out from under me. That's still unfolding. They can't do that, can they? My phone buzzed. A text from Nicole. Documents confirmed. Trust is ironclad. They're going to look like idiots. They're certainly trying, I replied to Pearl, allowing myself a small smile. But they might find it harder than they expect. What are you going to do? Attend dinner on Saturday. I took the envelope back, securing it in my safe. Would you like to come watch the show? Pearl's phone chimed. She glanced at it and paled. Asher just texted me, says he's worried you might make a scene Saturday. Asked me to help keep you calm. Perfect. I sat behind my desk. So what's it going to be, Pearl? Are you going to help him manage the hysterical wife, or would you like to know what's really going on? She set her phone down deliberately. Tell me everything. For the next hour, I laid it all out. The affair, the financial manipulation, Nicole's legal preparations, the trust agreement. Pearl listened intently, her expression shifting from shock to anger. Those bastards, she finally said. Using me to manipulate you. That's low, even for them. So you're with me. All the way. Pearl stood up, pacing. But Zoe, are you sure about this? Taking them down publicly. It's going to be brutal. They made their choice. I showed her Piper's latest Instagram story. A cryptic post about new beginnings and deserving better, tagged at a luxury real estate office. They're planning to humiliate me. They just don't know I'm ready for them. Sophia knocked softly, entering with fresh coffee. Mrs. Zoe, Mr. Asher called. He's bringing dinner home tonight. Says he wants to talk about Saturday. Perfect timing, I said, sharing a look with Pearl. Let's see what story he tries to sell me. After Sophia left, Pearl grabbed my hand. I'm sorry I wasn't there for you before, but I'm here now, and I want front row seats to whatever you're planning for Saturday. Just remember, I warned, act normal until then. Let them think everything's going according to their plan. Don't worry, Pearl smiled grimly. I can play nice. But Zoe? She squeezed my hand. Make them pay. I heard Asher's car pulling into the driveway. Showtime. Trust me, I told Pearl. By Saturday night, they'll wish they'd never underestimated me. Susan's dining room sparkled with expensive crystal and carefully curated elegance. I sat at the massive table, watching the drama unfold like a perfectly choreographed dance. Pearl squeezed my hand under the table as Asher stood, tapping his wineglass for attention. "Thank you all for coming tonight," he began, his practiced smile not quite reaching his eyes. "Especially you, Zoe. I know things have been difficult lately." Around the table, faces turned toward me with manufactured concern. Stuart, Asher's father, couldn't quite meet my gaze. Susan practically vibrated with poorly concealed satisfaction. "Difficult?" I kept my voice steady. "Everything seems fine to me." "See?" Susan interjected smoothly. "This is exactly what we're worried about, dear. The denial." Pearl shifted beside me. "What denial?" "Zoe's been struggling," Asher continued, as if reading from a script. "The business stress, the mood swings. We're all concerned." I took a sip of water, letting them dig their hole deeper. "Which is why," Susan added, "we've made some decisions. For your own good, dear." Asher pulled out a leather folder. "I've spoken with Dr. Reynolds. He agrees a break would be beneficial. Some time away from the pressures of managing the villa, the business." "How thoughtful," I murmured. "And where would I be taking this break?" "There's an excellent facility in Vermont," Susan said brightly, very discreet. "While you're there, Asher can handle the property sale and—" "Property sale," Pearl interrupted, playing her part perfectly. "You're selling the villa." "It's already done," Asher announced, sliding papers across the table. The buyers were very understanding about expediting the process, given the circumstances. I picked up the documents, noting the familiar letterhead of Coastal Property Solutions. "I see. And these buyers, they're aware I'm co-owner of the property." "Zoe," Asher's voice took on a patronizing tone. "You signed the papers last month. Don't you remember? Mom witnessed it." "Did I?" I opened the folder, examining the forged signature. "How interesting." Susan's smile faltered slightly. "Perhaps we should serve the main course." "No," I said quietly. "I think it's time for dessert." I pulled out my phone, typing a quick message. The dining room doors opened. Nicole walked in, carrying her own leather portfolio. Behind her, Sophia entered silently, positioning herself by the door. "What is this?" Asher stood up. "This is a private family dinner." "Oh, but Nicole is practically family," I smiled. "And she's brought some fascinating documents to share." "Now see here," Susan started, but I cut her off. "No, you see here." I stood, my calm finally cracking. "Did you really think I wouldn't find out? About Piper, about the illegal property sale, about all of it?" Asher's face drained of color. "You don't understand." "Actually, I understand perfectly." Nicole stepped forward, spreading documents across the table. "These are copies of the trust agreement you signed last year, Asher. The one that makes any property sale, without Zoe's authentic consent, illegal. And these," I added, pulling out my phone, "are screenshots of your conversations with Piper. Should I read them aloud? The parts about your plans for the villa money are particularly interesting." Susan shot to her feet. "This is ridiculous. Stuart, do something." Stuart just shook his head, looking decades older suddenly. "It's over, Susan. We never should have—" "Should never have what?" Pearl demanded. "Tried to commit fraud, gaslight my sister, planned to commit her to a facility so you could steal her property." The room fell silent. In that silence, a notification sound chimed. Everyone turned to Asher, who had gone ghostly pale, staring at his phone. "Problem?" I asked sweetly. "Piper," he whispered. She just posted." I already knew what he'd see. The Instagram story we'd orchestrated, showing Piper on a flight to Miami with a cryptic caption about leaving toxic situations and keeping the receipts. "She played you," I said softly, "just like you tried to play me." Nicole stepped forward, laying a final document on the table. This is a cease and desist order regarding the fraudulent property sale. You have 24 hours to reverse all transactions. And these, I added, placing a USB drive next to it, are copies of everything, every message, every forged document, every secret meeting recorded by Sophia. Try anything else, and they go public. You wouldn't, Susan hissed. Think of the scandal. I leaned across the table, meeting her eyes. Try me. Are you quite done? I asked, echoing Asher's patronizing tone from earlier. Because I'd like to enjoy my dessert now. Sophia, would you be kind enough to serve it? As Sophia moved to comply, I sat back down, picking up my wine glass. Around the table, the carefully constructed facade of family unity lay in ruins, and in its wreckage, I finally felt free. You can't do this to me, Asher sputtered, his perfect composure finally cracking. I built this life. I gave you everything. You gave me nothing, I replied, sliding my phone across the table. But Piper, she gave me everything. The screen showed a series of screenshots, bank transfers, hotel receipts, and messages between Asher and Piper, discussing their plans for the villa money, all forwarded to me just hours ago by a suddenly conscience-stricken mistress who discovered she wasn't getting the payday she'd been promised. She wouldn't, Asher whispered, scrolling through the evidence of his betrayal. She did. I turned to Susan, who sat frozen in her expensive dining chair. Would you like to see the messages where your son promises to buy Piper a penthouse with my money? Or perhaps the ones where you both discuss having me committed? Susan's perfectly maintained facade cracked. You ungrateful little mother, Asher warned. But it was too late. We gave you everything, Susan exploded. Let you into our world, our social circle. And this is how you repay us? By trying to destroy our family? Pearl laughed sharply. Your family? You mean the one you tried to tear apart? Stay out of this, Susan snapped. No, I don't think I will. Pearl stood, hands planted on the table. You know what's funny? You were so busy plotting against my sister, you didn't notice me documenting every single conversation where you planned to destroy her. Stuart, who had been silent until now, looked up sharply. What conversations? Oh, Stuart, Susan's voice turned sickly sweet. Don't act surprised. You knew. Actually, I interrupted. He didn't. I nodded to Nicole, who produced another folder. These are transcripts of your meetings with the property buyers. Notice how Stuart's name never appears. You forged his signatures too. The color drained from Susan's face as Stuart snatched the documents. You did what? He demanded, scanning the papers. Susan, these are federal crimes. I did it for us. Susan's voice rose hysterically. For Asher. That villa should have been his inheritance, not split with some gold digging. Gold digging. I stood slowly. I built my business from nothing. I paid for half of that villa with my own money, while your precious son was spending our savings on his Instagram model girlfriend. I was protecting our assets. Speaking of Instagram models, Nicole interjected, checking her phone. Piper's just gone live. Should we watch? Asher lunged for his phone, but it was too late. Piper's tearful confession was already streaming to her 1,000,000 followers, detailing how she'd been manipulated by a married man who promised to leave his wife and steal her home. Turn it off, Asher begged. Why? I asked quietly. Isn't this what you wanted? Everything out in the open? The dining room doors opened again. Sophia entered with a silver tray, placing it carefully in front of Susan. Your dessert, madam, she said formally, lifting the lid to reveal not food, but a stack of papers, and the proof that I witnessed Mr. Asher signing the trust agreement last year. Susan knocked the tray aside. You're fired. Actually, I smiled. Sophia doesn't work for you. She works for me, always has. This is insane. Asher stood, sweating now. Zoe, please, we can talk about this, like you talked to me about selling our home, about having me committed. I shook my head. No, we're done talking. Nicole stepped forward, professional mask firmly in place. My client has generously prepared 2 options for you. Option 1. Reverse all fraudulent transactions, admit to the forgeries, and agree to a quiet divorce with equitable asset division. And Option 2? Stewart asked wearily. We press charges, Pearl answered. For fraud, conspiracy, attempted illegal confinement. Should I continue? Susan's carefully manicured hand trembled as she reached for her wine glass. You wouldn't dare. Think of the scandal. The scandal's already happening. I gestured to the phones, still streaming Piper's confession. But you can choose how much worse it gets. Asher slumped in his chair, defeated. What do you want? I said clearly, exactly what I'm legally entitled to. Half of everything we built together. The villa stays with me, and you all stay out of my life. You have until morning to decide, Nicole added, gathering her documents. After that, we go to the authorities. I stood, smoothing my dress. Thank you for dinner, Susan. The company was illuminating. Pearl followed me to the door, but I paused, turning back one last time. Oh, and Asher, Piper sends her regards. She's keeping the Cartier bracelet you bought her with our anniversary fund. As we walked out into the warm evening air, I heard Susan's anguished wail and the crash of something expensive breaking. Pearl linked her arm through mine. Ready to go home? She asked. I looked back at the house where my marriage had just imploded. Yes, I said firmly. I'm more than ready. The fallout was immediate and spectacular. By morning, Piper's confession had gone viral, with social media buzzing about the wealthy banker's failed heist and his brave influencer whistleblower. I watched their carefully constructed social facade crumble from the safety of my villa's terrace, sipping coffee while Pearl read me the highlights. Oh, this is rich, Pearl snorted, scrolling through her phone. Susan's charity board is reviewing her position after anonymous sources revealed her involvement in attempted fraud. Anonymous sources? I raised an eyebrow. Nicole works fast, Pearl grinned. And look, Piper's already signed with a PR firm. They're positioning her as the deceived other woman who did the right thing in the end. My phone buzzed. Stewart's number. I put it on speaker. Zoe, his voice sounded aged, broken. Please, we need to talk. I believe my lawyer made our position clear. Susan's, she's not well. The social humiliation, the charity board. He paused. We'll sign whatever you want. Just please, stop the stories. The stories aren't coming from me, I replied coolly. Perhaps you should speak to Piper's PR team. A commotion outside interrupted us. Through the security cameras, I saw Susan attempting to bypass the gate, Asher trying to pull her back. I'll handle this, Pearl said, heading for the door. Stewart, I said into the phone, get your wife off my property before I call the police. I ended the call and followed Pearl outside. Susan had managed to get through the gate, mascara streaking down her face. You vindictive bitch, she screamed. You've ruined everything. Mother, stop, Asher pleaded. But Susan was beyond reason. I ruined everything. I stepped forward, Pearl flanking me. You tried to steal my home, forge my signature, and have me committed. You did this to yourself. We were protecting our legacy. Susan lunged forward, but Pearl stepped between us. Back off, Pearl warned. Security's already on their way. Legacy, I laughed bitterly. Your legacy of fraud and manipulation. How's that working out for you? Asher finally managed to grab his mother's arm. Please, Mom, you're making it worse. Making it worse, Susan's voice rose hysterically. Do you know what they're saying about us? My friends won't return my calls. The country club is reviewing our membership. All because she couldn't just take the money and go quietly. Mrs. Hall, Sophia's voice cut through the chaos. She stood in the doorway, phone raised. Should I continue recording, or would you like to leave now? Susan deflated, suddenly aware of how she looked. Designer outfit disheveled, makeup ruined, screaming through my front gate like a lunatic. This isn't over, she hissed. Actually, it is. Nicole appeared behind Sophia, documents in hand. Your lawyer just called. They're accepting our terms. Full property rights to Zoe, equitable division of joint assets, and most importantly, a restraining order. You can't, Susan started. We can, Nicole cut her off. And this little performance just gave us more evidence. Would you like to continue? Security finally arrived, 2 guards approaching professionally. Is there a problem here? Yes, I said clearly. These people are trespassing. Please escort them out. As they were led away, Asher turned back. Zoe, please, we can fix this. Fix what? I asked tiredly. The fraud? The affair? The attempt to have me committed? Which part would you like to fix first? He flinched. I never meant. Save it for your lawyer, Pearl interrupted. And maybe your next girlfriend. Though good luck finding one now that Piper's story is trending. We watched them leave, Susan still protesting weakly. Asher supporting her, as security guided them to their car. Once they were gone, I felt my knees buckle slightly. Pearl caught my arm. Hey, you okay? No, I admitted, but I will be. Nicole checked her phone. Stewart's lawyer just sent the signed agreements. It's done. Not quite, I said, walking back inside. Sophia, would you bring me that real estate portfolio I was looking at yesterday? The women's shelter proposals, Sophia asked. I nodded, turning to Pearl and Nicole. I've been thinking about what to do with all this space, and I had an idea. Turn the villain's lair into a force for good? Pearl smiled. Mom would have loved that. She would have, I agreed, opening the portfolio. So who wants to help me plan a renovation? As we gathered around the kitchen island, discussing plans to transform my home into a sanctuary for women escaping situations like mine, I felt something shift inside me. The villa wasn't just mine now. It was becoming something bigger, something better. My phone buzzed with another news alert about the scandal. But this time, I didn't bother checking it. The past could stay where it belonged. I had a future to build. Sign here. Nicole pointed to the final line on the divorce papers. And here. One more time here. My hand didn't shake as I signed. 3 signatures to end 8 years of marriage. Simple as that. Congratulations, Nicole said, gathering the documents. You are officially divorced. Through the conference room windows, I could see Asher in the lobby with his new lawyer. He looked smaller somehow, his designer suit hanging loose on his frame. When he caught me looking, he quickly averted his eyes. Ready to go? Pearl asked, squeezing my shoulder. Just one thing left. I pulled out an envelope and handed it to Nicole. Can you give this to him? What is it? The Cartier watch he gave me for our 5th anniversary. Seems fitting it should go back to him today. As we left the law office, Asher stepped forward. Zoe, wait. We have nothing to discuss. Please, he said, his voice cracking. I know I messed up, but what you're doing with Piper, the interviews, the expose. I'm not doing anything with Piper, I cut him off. She made her own choices, just like you made yours. Mother's in therapy, he continued desperately. Dad's talking about divorce. Everything's falling apart. Sounds like a you problem, Pearl interjected. Come on, Zoe, we have that meeting with the contractors. But I paused, turning to face my ex-husband one last time. You know what's funny, Asher? You and Susan were so worried about your precious legacy. Now look at you. Your reputation's in tatters. Your girlfriend's writing a tell-all book. And your mother's become a social pariah. I never wanted. You wanted everything, I said quietly. The villa, the money, the young girlfriend. You just didn't want to pay the price for it. His face crumpled. I loved you once. No, I replied. You loved what I could give you. There's a difference. My phone buzzed. Sophia's message showing the contractors had arrived at the villa. Goodbye, Asher. Don't contact me again. Outside, Pearl linked her arm through mine. You okay? Better than okay, I smiled, feeling lighter than I had in months. Let's go build something good out of all this mess. At the villa, the transformation was already underway. Construction crews worked on converting the East Wing into private apartments, while designers mapped out spaces for counseling offices and meeting rooms. Mrs. Zoe, Sophia called, hurrying over with her tablet. The shelter director is here for the final approval meeting. Maria, the director, was waiting in what used to be Asher's study. The room that once housed his schemes now held blueprints for hope. "These plans are incredible," Maria said, reviewing the layouts. 10 private units, communal spaces, security systems. "How soon can we start accepting residents?" 3 months, I replied. "Faster, if we—" A commotion outside interrupted us. Through the window, I saw Susan's car pulling up to the gate. "I've got this," Pearl said, already moving, but Sophia held up her hand. "Allow me." She pressed the intercom. "Mrs. Hall, you are in violation of the restraining order. Security has already been notified." "I'm not here to fight," Susan's voice crackled through the speaker. I need help." We all exchanged looks. "Stuart's leaving me," Susan continued, her voice breaking. "Everything's gone. I don't know what to do." I walked to the window. Susan stood alone at the gate. No designer handbag, no perfect makeup, just a broken woman facing the consequences of her actions. "What do you want to do?" Pearl asked softly. I thought about karma, about cycles of hurt, about breaking chains. "Let her in," I told Sophia. "But call Nicole first. I want everything documented." Minutes later, Susan sat in the future counseling room, looking lost among the renovation debris. "Why are you here?" I asked. She swallowed hard. "I saw the news about turning this place into a shelter for women like," she gestured vaguely. "Women you tried to destroy?" Pearl supplied. Susan flinched. "I deserve that. I deserve all of it. But I thought, maybe I could help? Make something right?" I studied her carefully. "You understand this isn't redemption. You don't get to wash away what you did by throwing money at it." "I know," she whispered. I need to do something good, please." I shared a look with Maria, who gave a slight nod. "We have a strict volunteer screening process," I said finally. "And you'll start at the bottom. No special treatment." "Thank you," Susan breathed. Don't thank me yet," I cut her off. "This isn't forgiveness. This is me choosing to break the cycle. Don't make me regret it." As security escorted Susan out, Pearl touched my arm. "You're a better person than I am." "No," I said, turning back to the blueprints, "just tired of letting their darkness define my light." The autumn breeze carried the sound of laughter through the villa's open windows. In the garden, women gathered around tables, set for the shelter's first graduation ceremony. 5 residents moving on to their new lives, their own homes, their fresh starts. "Speech time," Pearl nudged me, handing over a microphone. I looked out at the faces before me. Not just the graduates, but dozens of supporters, volunteers, and even a few familiar ones. Susan sat in the back row, her designer clothes replaced by a simple volunteer's uniform. She caught my eye and gave a small nod. "When this shelter opened," I began, "someone asked me why I didn't just sell the villa and move on. The answer was simple. Sometimes the best revenge isn't destruction, it's creation." Movement at the gate caught my attention. Asher stood there, watching. He'd lost weight, looked older. Next to him, Stuart waited in their car. They hadn't been invited, but I couldn't bring myself to call security. "Each woman here," I continued, "has faced betrayal, manipulation, or abuse. But today isn't about what was done to us. It's about what we chose to do after." My phone buzzed, a message from Nicole. Piper's book hit the bestseller list. Proceeds still going to the shelter? I smiled, remembering Piper's tearful call months ago, offering to donate her earnings. Karma had its own way of balancing accounts. "Maria," I gestured to the shelter director, "would you help me present the certificates?" One by one, the graduates came forward. Sarah, who'd arrived with nothing but a backpack and bruises, now headed to her new job as a paralegal. Emma, whose husband had drained their accounts, starting her own business. 3 more stories of resurrection. of women who'd turned their pain into power. Mrs. Zoe, Sophia appeared at my elbow. "There's a delivery for you." She handed me an envelope. Inside was a check from Stuart, a substantial donation to the shelter's expansion fund. With it, a note, "Making amends in my own way. S." I glanced back at the gate, but Asher and his father were gone. And now, Pearl took the microphone. "My sister has one more announcement." I stepped forward again. "Today we're not just celebrating 5 graduations. We're announcing the opening of 3 new shelter locations across the state. Places where women can find what I found here. Not just refuge, but renewal." Applause erupted. In the back, Susan wiped her eyes. She'd been instrumental in securing the new properties, working tirelessly to prove her change of heart was genuine. To our graduates, I raised my glass, and to everyone who helped build this sanctuary. Thank you for showing me that the best response to darkness is to create more light. After the ceremony, as the sun set over the Mediterranean, I found myself in my favorite spot on the terrace. Pearl joined me, 2 glasses of wine in hand. "Did you see Asher at the gate?" she asked. "Yes. And nothing." I took a sip of wine. "That chapter's closed." Speaking of chapters, Pearl grinned. "Have you seen the reviews for Piper's book? They're calling it a searing exposé of privilege and betrayal. Though I noticed she changed everyone's names, except Asher's." I laughed. "Some karma you just can't buy." Sophia appeared with a letter. "This came for you. Special delivery." The envelope contained a single photograph, me and Mom, taken at this very spot years ago. On the back, in Pearl's handwriting, "She'd be so proud of what you've built here. Found it in my old albums." Pearl said softly, "Thought it belonged here now." Below us, the last of the graduation guests were leaving. Maria was showing potential donors around the new counseling center. Susan helped staff clear the tables, no longer the society maven, but someone finally finding purpose and service. "You know," Pearl mused, "when this all started, I thought you were just after revenge." "So did I admitted. "But revenge is easy. This?" I gestured to the shelter, the women, the whole new world we'd built. "This was harder and better." My phone chimed one last time, a message from Nicole. "Final paperwork filed for the new shelters. You're officially expanding." I smiled, watching the sun sink into the sea. The villa's lights came on automatically, illuminating the path for anyone who might need to find their way here in the dark. "Ready to go in?" Pearl asked. In a minute, I took another sip of wine, feeling the warmth of accomplishment, of purpose found in pain. "I just want to enjoy this moment a little longer." The Mediterranean breeze carried the scent of jasmine, and somewhere in the garden, someone laughed, the sound of healing, of hope, of home. Not the home I'd planned, perhaps, but the one I was meant to build all along.